Hello everyone, welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage on this Sunday, July 28th, 2024. My name is Hunter, and in today's weather forecast, we are going to be talking about a tropical system to watch, and that is just something to watch over the next 7 days. There is no system that we are tracking currently, but there is something that we'll have to watch towards the USA and also into the Bahamas region as we go through the next 7 days. We'll be diving into that, and the Ring of Fire pattern across North America will be setting up some major heat across the central and southern U.S., and on the northern periphery of that, we're going to be seeing some severe storms and heavy rainfall from the Midwest down into the Ohio Valley. We'll be diving into that details as well in the video. So if you are here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, give it a thumbs up down below, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those after the video. So what we're looking at here currently is the National Hurricane Center's 7-day outlook here for tropical weather, and you can see there is a broad brushed 40% chance of a tropical system developing here from the Windward Islands all the way through the Greater Antilles here, through the Bahamas and into the state of Florida. And looking here at climatology as we turn into early August, notice the number of named storms, including those tropical depressions, tropical storms, hurricanes, and even major hurricanes start to ramp up as we turn the page into August. And those sea surface temperature anomalies are warming up here into the Bahamas. They're near normal, but closer to the state of Florida there, into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, much of the Caribbean, those sea surface temperature anomalies are above normal compared to what they should be this time of year. So let's look at a couple different computer models and show you there are major differences in the intensity, the track, and overall impacts that this storm could bring depending on those two things, which is intensity and track. So let's look here at the ECMWF model. This is the European model guidance. And by next Saturday, yes, we're still talking 6 days away from today. Next Saturday, August 3rd, we have a 1006 millibar low pressure system here just to the north of the Bahamas. Likely that would be a tropical depression if this was correct. Then the high pressure system is a little bit weaker over here, so it actually steers that up the east coast and just off the coast of the Carolinas here as a 997 millibar low by next weekend on Sunday, August 4th, and that would likely be a stronger tropical storm, if not a low-end hurricane, according to the European model. Now let's look at a different weather model. This is the Canadian model guidance, the GEM model, and you can see the same thing. Next Saturday on August 3rd, it doesn't really show anything, and it's a little bit lower of the pressures further south. The high pressure is a little bit elongated further west there, so that takes that westerly track more into the Gulf of Mexico as a weaker system, likely a depression or even a tropical storm by next Sunday. Notice how the Canadian model and the Euro model that we just looked at are hundreds of miles away from each other in solution. Now, finally, let's look at the GFS model. This is the American model guidance on Saturday, August 3rd. Notice the high pressure is a lot stronger over here and further to the west, and you can see it really doesn't show anything developing on Saturday or Sunday for the GFS model. So you literally have a scenario where we could have a system in the Gulf, you could have a system over here in the western Atlantic away from the Gulf and into the east coast of the U.S., or nothing could happen. So that's the solution that we have right now. Most likely scenario here, tropical depression probability, this is a percentage through next Sunday, August 4th, is pretty decent here, about 50%, maybe closing in on 60% for areas near and north of the Greater Antilles and toward at least the central and eastern Bahamas. Now, looking at tropical storm probabilities, they have grown over the last couple of days, but they're still low probabilities, only about 20 to 30% here near and north of the Bahamas. And right now, there are no chances of this becoming a hurricane at least through next Sunday on this model guidance. So that is something we'll have to keep an eye on. Now, closer to home here, talking about the impacts over the land, that ridge of high pressure across the southern tier of the United States is leading to some heat alerts out there. We have excessive heat watches from Kansas into northwest Missouri, heat advisories there in the Missouri Ozarks region, extending down here into Arkansas and parts of Mississippi, even heat advisories in southern Florida. We have red flag warnings that continue with dry soil and some heat out west there into Utah, western Colorado, and southern portions there of Wyoming, even some red flag warnings there in California. Major fires burning out west here. Some of those aren't even contained that much, so hopefully they can be contained over the next few days. And it's going to be tough because look at the high temperatures this afternoon. A lot of heat for the desert Southwest here. A lot of heat across the Great Plains, especially Kansas on south there toward Texas. Heat indexes this afternoon when you throw in some of the moisture that we have out there. The corn crop, you ever heard of corn sweat out there? That's evapotranspiration. Basically what that means is the corn crop or the crops itself kind of give off moisture back into the atmosphere, and that could lead to higher heat index values into the 100, 105 range here from around Kansas down there into Oklahoma and North Texas. Some of that along the Gulf Coast as well. And going back to yesterday, looking at storm reports across the United States on your Saturday, July 27th rather, we did actually see a lot of wind reports there across the Dakotas, the panhandle of Nebraska into Wyoming there, into around the Salt Lake City area, Idaho, northwestern Colorado. Some hail reports as well. Thankfully, though, no landspouts, no tornadoes or anything like that yesterday. We do have a pretty large area of severe weather potential today. And notice, this is on the northern flank of all of that heat, across South Dakota, into parts of Minnesota there, Nebraska, western Iowa, into northwestern Kansas. That's a level 2 out of 5 in yellow. Slight risk for severe weather. Dark green, that's a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk. The hazards here are going to be damaging winds, most likely 60, 70 miles per hour in this dash shaded line across portions of South Dakota. Could be seeing isolated 75, maybe 80 mile per hour wind gusts there as we go into today. Hailstones, quarter size or larger, that's 1 inch in diameter or larger, possible here from South Dakota into Nebraska and Kansas, and cannot rule out a tornado or two, or at least a landspout threat here from Rapid City to Aberdeen down into Sioux Falls, Omaha, and Des Moines. That'll be something we'll be keeping an eye on. That's only a 2% chance as we go through the day. So timing this out, this afternoon, storm coverage is going to remain pretty, isolated and widely scattered. There is going to be a cap on the atmosphere, especially the further south you go with that ridge, and I think as we go into the evening, that cap will start to erode, but we're still going to see just scattered coverage of storms, so nothing terribly widespread out there. Some of those will become severe, and then some heavy rainfall will be continuing into early Monday morning across parts of Minnesota, Iowa there, and into northwest Wisconsin, and you can see some of those rainfall totals could be over an inch, maybe over 2 inches in some areas there for central and southern Minnesota, into parts of Iowa there, into Missouri and western Illinois, and also northwest Wisconsin. Also, some heavier rains down here from Kentucky southward towards the Dixie Alley region, Florida. But notice the areas in white here. A lot of dry weather out west and into the central southern plains underneath the influence of that ridge, and across the east coast there for the most part as well. Pretty dry through your Monday morning commute. With the heavy rainfall threat comes the potential for flash flooding. Slight risk for flash flooding up here into the upper Midwest. Another area down here into the Tennessee and Ohio river valleys, down into the southeast. Just make sure you are ready in case those flash flood warnings are issued, and seek higher ground if they are issued for your area. Now, looking here at next week's weather pattern, Monday, July 29th through Friday, August 2nd, that ridge of high pressure will be elongated from Southern California all the way over here into Mississippi and Alabama, and we're going to see a lot of heat out there, okay? Temperatures are going to be 15, 20 degrees above average, and this is climatologically the hottest time of year. So when you have temperature anomalies well above average like this, you know it's going to be hot. So starting here tomorrow, high temperatures Monday afternoon, back into the 90s, triple digits out here from the central and into the southern plains. Some heat also across the mid-Atlantic that we'll be watching for, and then of course down here into the desert Southwest. Going into Wednesday, midweek to end the month of July there on Wednesday, July 31st. A lot more triple digits here, especially for Kansas, Oklahoma, and into Texas. Some of those 90s stretching all the way up into places like Nebraska, Iowa, and Illinois. Then as we go into the end of the week, look at a lot of the lower 48 here, seeing at least those 80s, but even the summertime 90s and 100s out there to end the week. A lot of summertime heat up into Ontario, Quebec, Canada there, into the 80s and 90s as well as we round out the week on Friday. Remember several days ago when I put this forecast out for you folks, several days ahead of time, on my Weather on the Go severe weather forecast from July 29th through August 2nd, we identified a likely area of severe weather from the upper Midwest down here into the eastern U.S. into parts of the Great Lakes, the lower Midwest, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, into the southeast, you name it, in the orange. We didn't have enough confidence to upgrade that to a very likely category, but you can see that very area is going to have above average precipitation during that time frame. So from tomorrow, July 29th, all the way through Friday, August 2nd, that's the area. Upper upper Midwest down into the Great Lakes, lower Midwest, Ohio Valley, Southeast, and into the Tennessee Valley. That's the area we could see some very heavy rain. Several inches of accumulating rain are possible here, and you see some of those reds showing up, isolated areas seeing 3-4 inches here, and then a lot of dry weather in the central U.S. and out west, and that is something we'll contend with as we go through the week. So forecast breakdown here, major heat wave builds across the central U.S. Make sure to please stay hydrated out there, folks. If your job ventures you outdoors, make sure to seek frequent breaks into air conditioning places as well. Severe storms and heavy rainfall are likely across the Midwest into the Ohio Valley. Not everybody will see this, but there will be periods of time where severe storms and heavy rainfall will be moving across those areas, and there is just a tropical system to watch over the next 7 days. Certainly nothing to panic about, but we will certainly give you the latest information on that every single day until we know more as we go through the week. So make sure to subscribe to the channel down below so you see more of these videos. Another weather forecast video will be out for you tomorrow. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up down below. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those later on here after the video. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, July 28th, and I'll